Warning: some contents may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. I opened the application while reading the guide off of my phone. I have never used the dark web before, so I wasn't sure what to expect. But my tech friend assured me that if I follow these instructions then I'd be fine. The things I do for my subscribers, I say to myself as I click a link. I'm a horror narrator, and I do a lot of dark web stories, since they're pretty popular at the moment, and I've recently hit 10K subs. So to celebrate, I'm going to be live streaming. But I also wanted it to be dark web related, but since I've never been on there before, now seems like a good time to learn a thing or two. And while yes, I have of course narrated a bunch of stories about the terrors of the dark web, but I know that most, if not all of them, are from writers and not actual events. So it's probably fine, right? I mean, think about it. A secret illegal version of the internet, full of evil hackers and serial killers. Yeah, sure fam, whatever. And while scrolling through the links, nothing really seemed too interesting. Yes, there were some dead links, some illegal things on there, but nothing really seemed to catch my eye. Until that is, I saw an ad. Mystery boxes for the brave of heart, not safe for life. Not safe for life, huh? Sounds like an obvious scam to me, but it would be the best clickbait title that I've ever made. Unboxing dark web mystery boxes. I clicked on the link and it led me to a text page with a PNG of a cardboard box on it. The price was only $9.99 including shipping and handling. Yup, definitely a scam, but whatever. I put in my burner account and had it shipped to a PO box to keep all my info safe and then click buy now. If it came, great, but if not, I took a screenshot of the receipt page. I can post it on my Twitter to show that I actually bought something. Now, even if nothing comes, I can just put something weird in a box. Dishonest? Yes, but hey, views are views. But to my surprise, I didn't have to. A package actually came to my PO box the day before the stream. It didn't have a return address, and when shaking it, I could tell that there was something in there. While I was curious as to what it was, I would save it for the stream. Of course, I would open it off camera, alongside the fake box, in case there was something inside of it that would get me demonetized for showing on camera. And with that, I set the box near my streaming setup and then went to bed. On the day of the stream, I brewed myself a coffee and I got ready to stream. And when it was time, I took a deep breath and I hit start streaming. Hello everyone, welcome back. Today, we're celebrating me hitting my milestone of 10K subs. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. But, enough of that small talk. I've got a surprise for everyone. I show them the box on camera as I explain. So, a few weeks ago I posted on my Twitter that I did some shopping on the deep web. What I got is supposed to be a mystery box, and today, we're gonna finally see what it is. I put the box down, resting it on my lap off the camera, ready to switch it out if need be. Okay, let's see, and it's... I open the box and I see a book. I take the leather-covered book out of the box and I show it to the camera. A Cooking Guide for Men. I read the title. The red leather book was by someone named Nico Claux. I sighed in fake disappointment and I said to the camera, "Well, I think we got scammed, guys." While I didn't expect much from it, I can't say that I wasn't a little disappointed. "Is it even a good cookbook?" I asked, trying to hold my viewers' attention. If the horror bit wasn't gonna happen, I might as well get a laugh out of it. So with a smile, I turned to the first page. It said, "This book is to help you prepare, season, and cook your meals in a safe and appetizing way. That being said, it's best to leave out certain parts, especially for beginners, as improperly preparing them may lead to severe health problems, including Kuru and prion diseases." I look at the camera with a noddingly approving face and say, Maybe it is a scary book." I say with a slight chuckle. I continued to read until my eyes came across a specific sentence. I scanned the letters and felt my stomach drop. It said, "When preparing human flesh, it is best to ensure that there are no tattoos or other things marking the body, as this affects not only taste but also health." I threw the book down. I felt like I was gonna be sick. I looked up at the camera before realizing that I was still live. I managed to get out some excuse before cutting the stream. And after that, I just sat there, breathing heavily, trying to calm down. And after a few minutes, I managed to slow my breathing before looking back at the book. What was I gonna do with this? After a few seconds of thought, I grabbed the book and a lighter before going to my backyard. And as I watched the fire blazing in the makeshift pit, I knew one thing for sure. I will never order anything from the dark web again. I can't be very detail specific here due to the nature of my job, but I will try my best to communicate the story as best as I can. I work in the cybercrimes division of a law enforcement agency. That's about as specific as I can get. And I want to be clear here. Most of the stories that you read about the dark web are outright fabrications. The tales of the red rooms and the stories of hiring hitmen are practically universally untrue. Most crime takes place on your normal everyday web. One Tuesday afternoon, though, I got a call saying that there was a new case for me. Well, the officer on the other end of the call didn't seem to be too sure that it was a case for me, but wanted me to have a look anyway. I went down to talk to two young boys. Both of them were teenagers, likely still in high school. I was wondering what this was all even about, until one of them started blabbering about something that they got off the dark web. Apparently, the two of them were doing a TikTok or YouTube challenge. I can't care to remember which one it was, but they were looking for things to buy off the dark web. Again, honestly, there's very little actual shady activity that goes on the dark web, unless you want to buy drugs, so the two of them were mainly disappointed. Until they found a site that sold books, one of which they bought. I was then handed the book in question. I put on a pair of gloves and flipped through it. It was filled with photos of a young lady, and initially, they were of her smiling, and in locations such as that of a meadow or a city square. Though as it went on, they became more provocative, for lack of a better term. She began wearing outfits like a maid uniform or a catgirl cosplay, and the last few photos of her were wearing nothing. "Is this all you wanted to show me?" I asked, wondering what the fuss was about. It was then that I was handed a card, one that had come with a book, and it said, "Thank you for your purchase, dear customer. Inside, you can find a treasure trove of photos of a young girl. Though, that's not all that's special about this book. To make sure that it is truly one of a kind, we made sure that you could get the full experience. The book is bound with her skin, so feel free to gently caress the leather as you think of her. Again, thank you for your purchase." At this point, I should probably mention for those who might be unaware what anthropomorphic bibliopegy is. It's the name for the practice of binding a book with human skin. I probably don't need to say this, but it's illegal. Even assuming the skin was from a cadaver, you'd run into laws dealing with human remains. This card, though, from what was written on it, it was made to sound as if the skin had been taken from the girl while she was alive. Well, either that, or she had been killed and then skinned specifically to make this book. I thought the whole thing was an elaborate joke. My first hunch was that the two boys were in on it, but they seemed too scared for it to be a hoax on their end, and I interviewed the two of them separately, and their stories held up. Alright, perhaps they were telling the truth, but that didn't mean that the book was really bound with human skin. Even if it felt like leather, it was most likely animal leather, and all of this added for flavor. I told the officer in charge of the case just that, and said that there was no real need to investigate further, though I did give the young boys a warning regarding buying things off of sketchy websites. And that's when the case ended. Or so I thought. As it turns out, the officer in charge of the case decided that on the off chance that it was real, to get the book tested. And it turned out that the leather binding the book was a matter of fact from human skin. As you can imagine, interest in the case surged after that. We were dealing with a potential murder case now, and we called the two boys back. I was also brought back on board to try to get the root of things, and I was able to get the .tor address of the site they used. And fortunately, all I got was an error message when I used that link. I did some more sleuthing, but that got me nowhere. Frustrated, I turned to other sources for help, but there was little progress that I was able to make. Further analysis of the skin revealed that it did belong to a woman and one of Caucasian descent, which all lined up with what I saw in the photographs. But there was little else that forensics could do as the process of preparing the leather made many tests unviable. A DNA test of the skin didn't reveal anything, and we searched far and wide to see if anyone recognized the girl in the photos, but there was no match till date. The case was about to turn cold when I managed to find an unexpected lead. On a forum that I caught wind of someone else who had purchased a similar book and was confused regarding the veracity of what was claimed about it. It was 3 states over, but we managed to track down the poster, who was a woman who had bought it out of morbid curiosity. Forensic testing revealed that the cover was made of human skin as well. She had a different .tor link, one which I tried, and this one actually worked. The site by itself was nothing impressive. It was as basic as could be, kind of like old sites back in the 2000s. I would have thought that it was a cheap prank based off this alone, but the 2 cases made me hold back my skepticism. I took screenshots of the websites and confirmed with the 2 boys who first came to us with this case that this was the site that we were looking for. Both of the books had been mailed from fake addresses from mailboxes within large cities, so there was little to go on there. Given this, we decided to try the site for ourselves, and I placed an order, only for nothing to turn up. If anything, what happened was that the site's URL no longer worked. And it's here where things took a sinister turn. One of the boys, the one who had actually ordered the book, went missing one day. He was coming back home from school, and then, well, there was no further trace of him. A manhunt for months came up with nothing, until one day, the other boy came to us saying that someone had delivered a piece of paper to his house. It wasn't a normal piece of paper. It was a roll of parchment. Testing later revealed that the skin was human, and DNA testing showed that it was from the boy who had gone missing. Upon it, written with what was later confirmed to be blood, were the words, "Stay out of our business." I don't like to admit this, but that single incident spooked me beyond anything that I've ever encountered. I'm not really used to being in the line of fire. Yeah, I know I'm part of law enforcement, but my work is usually done behind a computer screen. I didn't catch a wink of sleep for 3 nights after what we confirmed what it was. I vividly remember how his mother broke down in tears when we gave her the news. There were no more leads aside from that anyway, and I honestly want nothing more to do with that case anymore. People who would gladly skin someone and then use that skin are not people that I want to be in close contact with. Well, that case might be over, but I'm leaving this here as a general warning. Do not buy things off of the dark web, even if it's more likely a joke than not, because sometimes they might not be kidding. This occurred not long after I turned 18 years old. My girlfriend had just also turned 18 a few days ago, which meant that her parents had finally trusted her and I to be alone in the house while they went out for dinner. My girlfriend had always been a fan of horror films and creepy things in general. She loved reading creepypastas and watching dark and gory films such as Hostel and Saw. One evening, I was sitting with her while she finished watching the last few minutes of The Human Centipede. We both had a few drinks and I was about to go to bed, but she suggested that we look for other horror films to watch online, and despite my tiredness, I obliged. A few minutes of searching on her laptop revealed all of her favorite online film sites had been taken down. Then, that's when she suggested a chilling alternative. "Have you ever heard of the dark web?" she asked. I had heard whispers around school about it, but I never took much interest. "Yeah, I have," I replied, trying to act brave. A smile of excitement appeared on her face. I could tell she was slightly drunk and in that sort of I don't care what happens kind of mood. I decided to go to the kitchen to fetch her some water. And when I came back, I noticed that she had a site open called Sensor View. The site displayed the pictures of movie posters that I had never seen before. I correctly assumed that it was a site that sold banned horror films from other countries. All of them looked pretty unoriginal, nothing that I hadn't seen before. All except for one. The one my girlfriend was hovering the mouse clicker over. And the movie was called The Visiting. The display picture was simply a white background with The Visiting written in Arial black font. We were both fascinated as to what it was. I took my iPhone and searched for the plot of the film, yet I found nothing. Just a few stupid videos and irrelevant forums. However, When I looked back up from my phone, I caught a glimpse of my girlfriend typing in her name and address into various boxes on a page titled Order Details. And before, to my horror, she clicked the submit button. I was caught in a state of anger and shock. I manically shouted at her, explaining how dangerous it was dispersing her personal details into such a messed up place as the dark web. And I could see that my attempts to correct her were futile, as the alcohol was hitting her hard and she was not paying attention whatsoever. Frustrated, I went to bed deciding to discuss it with her the next morning. The next morning, she seemed to have little regret over her actions. She spent the morning explaining how she was curious and she was in no danger. She even commented that the experience would be fun. However, I wasn't convinced. She told me not to tell her parents, fearing that they would not trust her to be alone in the house again. And I promised not to say anything, and I headed back home. 3 days later, I was visiting her house again. Her parents had gone to meet with some friends from work for a drink, and we were watching The Exorcist on DVD. During a particularly non-eventful part of the film, my girlfriend began joking about how horrified I looked a few days ago when we were discussing the dark web. She said she had only received a fairly professional-looking email confirming the order and nothing else. I began to yield to her argument that perhaps I was overreacting. It was merely seconds after our conversation finished that an aggressive knock came from the door. It sounded like it was from 2 doors, but I dismissed this as an echo. I began to look concerned while my girlfriend began laughing once again at the look of terror on my face. I put on a fake smile as I walked towards the door. It erased clean from my face when I saw who stood outside. A tall, stocky man wearing a ski mask and dark clothes stood at the front door, wielding a hammer. I was about to call out to my girlfriend to call the police when a blood-curdling scream echoed throughout the house. I raced back into the room to see my girlfriend pointing at the window facing the garden. An identical man stood at the window, only he was holding a small bat. I grabbed my girlfriend's hand and sprinted up the stairs. We hid in the master bedroom while I called the police on my mobile, who told me that they would be there as soon as possible. And as I finished the call, I heard one of the doors smash and loud rapid footsteps heading up the stairs. They were in the house. Without thinking, I pushed the window open and told my girlfriend to jump, run, and not to look back. She jumped and landed safely onto the grassy garden below. I was about to follow, but I hesitated, wondering if I could put up a fight in doing so, to allow my girlfriend more time to escape. It was then I heard a deep, aggressive voice outside the room. The man shouted something in a foreign language, whilst I heard laughs from 2 other men outside. All bravery evaporated, and I jumped, landing harshly on my ankle. The adrenaline racing around my body allowed me to power through the pain, and I eventually caught up to my girlfriend. We were running for what seemed like hours, but in reality was most likely 10 minutes. We ended up next to a local park, a safe distance away from the house. My girlfriend began sobbing and I comforted her, trying to avoid my own desire to break down. It was not long after that when the police called me on my mobile, they were at the house, and as far as they could tell, the attackers were gone. After taking a few minutes to compose ourselves, my girlfriend and I made our way back. There were 3 police officers at the house. One was examining each room for any damage or evidence left by the men. One was comforting my girlfriend, and while the other asked me questions. The shock was clouding my memory. I was only able to tell them a few details about their clothing and the fact that they spoke in an Eastern European language. My girlfriend handed over her phone and computer for the police to investigate, and then they left. They advised us to tell the homeowners about the situation, lock up, and suggested that everyone spent the rest of the evening with friends or a relative. So we both spent the night at my parents' house while my girlfriend's parents stayed with her friends. I remember my girlfriend crying over the phone while telling them about the situation, and they were furious. A few days later, the police visited my girlfriend. It was by luck that I was at her house that afternoon, and their investigations had led them to some disturbing findings. It turned out that the visiting was a nickname locals in a small Polish town gave to a number of brutal murders that occurred in the 90s in the local area. The murders were committed by an unknown gang and were initially dismissed as home invasions gone wrong. All the victims were bludgeoned to death in their homes, although nothing of value was taken from the house. It was only 2 years after the murders began that a family survived an attack by the gang. The husband was able to give the Polish police a few details of the attackers, but all that he revealed was that they wore ski masks, wielded blunt objects, and one had a video camera. However, the crucial evidence was that one of the attackers had dropped a backpack containing one blank videotape and 3 other tapes with content on them. The 3 tapes showed the horrific murders of the other victims of the attackers. The police came to a shocking conclusion that these men were creating snuff films to be sold to whatever psychos paid enough for them. A nationwide manhunt began, but after years of investigation, nothing was found. I remember feeling incredibly cold as the police told me their findings. They went on to tell me that the men most likely fled Poland during the police search and could possibly have entered the UK as workers when Poland joined the European Union. The only thing they knew for certain was that these men were operating once again, decades after their last murder, and they were using the dark web as a way of deciding on their next victims. The police told my girlfriend's family to move in with a relative while the investigation was ongoing. It was not long after that when my girlfriend broke up with me by her parents' wishes. I assumed her parents suspected me of forcing her into using the dark web. My girlfriend discovered later that various documents containing her information had been taken from the house. So, I'm not allowed to see her, but our parents still speak. From what they tell me, her mental state has become incredibly fragile, and it broke my heart to hear this. I can safely say the police will never find the attackers using the information I gave, which means they will most likely strike again. I can only hope that the next time they do, it will lead to those bastards ending up behind bars and not the creation of another tape to add to their collection. Be safe out there and avoid the dark web. And here are the top comments from my last video. And here's the riddle for this video. Hello everyone, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But I would also like to thank my amazing patrons, my top tippers, and my dearest channel members. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it with all of my heart. If you want to support the channel further, you could also choose to become a patron, a tipper, or a channel member. But remember, it's appreciated, but never a requirement. I would also like to announce that we have merch now. The link is in the description of the video, along with all my other social media links, like my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, and others. You can connect with me and send your stories there. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and comments are highly appreciated. And remember, your fear feeds me.